Yasas pedia. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel, and a very special welcome to the very first episode of my new NFL pick show here on the Guy Boston Sports YouTube channel. You all asked, and thus you shall receive. I saw a lot of people asking for a weekly NFL pick show for me with my full NFL pick slate, and here it is. Welcome, guys, to the very first episode of the NFL Oracle. I am the NFL Oracle. In ancient times, the oracle was a fortune teller, a prophecy giver, someone who was a voice from the gods to the people. And in modern times, my job is to give you guys absolute guaranteed winners. And just like the oracles of the past, not all my prophecies and all my predictions come completely true, but majority of the time, I get it right. So welcome everybody to the very first episode of the NFL Oracle. If you haven't already, please make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. It helps the channel grow, and it really does mean a ton to us. With a new week of NFL football comes a new opportunity to make some money, and I have a ton, and I mean a ton of great picks to go ahead and share with you guys. Now, I'm not going to be going through every single game in every week's NFL slate, but I'm going to be going through a majority of the games, all the games that I think I found value on with my picks. Also, just a heads up, I'm not going to be doing player props in this video just because I have so many picks. I'm picking spreads, totals, money lines, teasers, a lot of great picks. I have over 10 picks to go ahead and share with you guys in today's video. If I did player props, this video would probably be over an hour long. So I'll go ahead and save the NFL player props for a separate video sometime this weekend. So for here in today's video, our focus again is spreads, totals, money lines, and teasers. I absolutely love the board this week. I'm very excited to go ahead and share my week 3 NFL picks with you guys. And to celebrate my debut episode here, we're going to go ahead and do a little giveaway. All you have to do is comment the Oracle down below in the comment section. One lucky commenter will be selected to win a free $15 Amazon gift card. That's right, no gimmicks, no ifs, ands, or buts. All you got to do is comment the Oracle down below, and you could be selected to win a free $15 Amazon gift card. Guys, we have a lot, and I mean a lot of picks to go ahead and share with you guys. So let's not waste any time. Let's dive into today's picks. All right, guys, kicking things off here, the first game I'm going to go ahead and look at here in this Week 3 slate is the Chicago Bears at the Indianapolis Colts, 1 p.m. kickoff on Sunday. My pick, the Oracle's pick for this game, I'm going with the Bears here on the money line. That's right, folks. My first ever pick in the history of this show is a team that for the first 2 weeks of this NFL season has been putrid on offense. But have no fear, the Oracle is here to go ahead and share with you guys why I like this pick. Real quick, guys, let's jump into the outlier screen. I'll be jumping back and forth between the main screen and the outlier screen throughout the video. For starters, there's really good value on this play. It's a plus money play available for plus 105 on Caesars, plus 100 DraftKings, plus 100 Bet365, and minus 104, minus 105, minus 105 on FanDuel, ESPN Bet, and BetMGM. As always, guys, please make sure to shop around for the best sportsbook odds available. And like I said, guys, I know the Bears offense has not looked very good at all through the first couple weeks of the season, but I think they have a very good matchup here with an 0-2 Colts team that has a lot of stuff to go ahead and figure out. The main thing I'm looking at here is the matchup with the Bears offense versus this Colts defense. We know the Bears defense has absolutely been stellar through the first couple of weeks, and we know the Colts offense has had its moments, but overall has been left me wanting to see more, really. Anthony Richardson's obviously a really cool athlete. He's a really cool prospect, but there's a lot of growth that needs to be done there. But where this matchup really comes down for me is the Bears offense versus the Colts defense. This is a Colts defensive line that's just not generating a lot of pressure on opposing quarterbacks. And if you watch the first 2 games of the season for Chicago, that's been their main problem. The offensive line struggles in protecting Caleb Williams, which admittedly has been pretty shocking. The Bears were a really solid offensive line team last season. This year, though, pretty bad for the first couple weeks. But they're going up against a defensive line here in the Colts that is banged up. No DeForest Buckner. It's a huge thing here for a Colts team that even with DeForest Buckner wasn't generating a ton of pressure. Look at the right side of the screen here. You'll see Colts defense through the first 2 weeks of the season. They are bottom half in the league in quarterback hits and sacks, overall tackles for loss. And again, that's with DeForest Buckner. Now, no DeForest Buckner here in this matchup. I just don't think the Colts defensive line will be able to take advantage of the matchup here versus what's been a pretty weak Bears offensive line. And I think if you give Caleb Williams some time to go ahead and throw, to sit in the pocket, to go through his reads and throw, plus the fact that Keenan Allen may play in this game. I know they're on the road. I know they haven't looked super inspiring, but I do like the Bears in this spot. And the Colts' run defense has been abysmal. Perhaps they can finally get DeAndre Swift involved. Maybe Caleb Williams can go ahead and take off for some runs here. This is probably the weakest defense that he's played through his first 3 starts in the NFL, and it could be a really good spot for Caleb Williams to go ahead and figure some stuff out. And again, the flip side, the Bears defense has been really solid, and going up against Anthony Richardson, I just don't have faith that this Colts offense will be able to score a ton of points on this Bears defense. The Bears defense should keep the game relatively close. I think Caleb Williams in this matchup will be able to pull the Bears ahead. We're going with the money line here again. Plus money play depending where you get the book, where you get it on the book. But overall, guys, I think pretty solid value for the first ever pick in the history of the NFL Oracle. All right, guys, the second game we're going to go ahead and look at in this week's slate is the Texans-Vikings game, 1 p.m. kickoff on Sunday. We're going to go ahead and rock here with the Texans money line at -122. We're getting that on DraftKings. Jumping back into the outlier screen. Now, DraftKings does have the best odds here, -122, but it is available on many other sportsbooks, depending on what sportsbooks you like. Again, the best value here seems to be DraftKings, but if you don't have DraftKings, you can still play this bet on multiple other sportsbooks. This one should definitely be a fun one, guys. A matchup between two 2-0 teams here in Week 3. A Texans team that everyone's kind of expected to be 2-0, and a Vikings team that's surprisingly 2-0. Now, despite both teams being 2-0, the Texans are actually 0-2 against the spread so far this year, whereas Minnesota, as well as being 2-0 straight up, they're also 2-0 against the spread. Although Houston has gone and struggled against the spread so far this year, I do think that's going to go ahead and change here in Week 3. Now, look, Minnesota's been fantastic, and there's no reason to think they're going to go ahead and cool off here. I just love the Texans in this spot. Now, look, the Texans have a lot of hype behind them after a really loud offseason that included getting, obviously, star wide receiver Stephon Diggs. And I get it, people being cautious betting this team because they have so much hype around them. But they have so much hype for a reason. This team is loaded on both sides of the football. Even with the injury to Joe Mixon, I still love the Texans offense in this matchup versus this Vikings defense. Because jumping back into the outlier screen here, guys, where the Vikings' strength has been through these first couple weeks is in their run defense. You see, they're actually top 10 in the NFL in rushing yards allowed so far this year, giving up 88 rushing yards per game. That's the 8th best mark in the National Football League. But where this Vikings defense has struggled is in passing yards. They're actually 25th in the NFL, giving up 230 passing yards per game. Brock Purdy, although the Niners lost that game, he threw all over this Vikings defense. The Vikings also have the second highest blitz rate in the National Football League right now. It's kind of a staple of Brian Flores' defensive schemes. They love to blitz. Over 35% of their plays are blitzes, right? Their blitz rate is extremely high, 35.8% blitz rate this year for the Vikings. Guess who the best quarterback in the NFL is against the blitz? That's right, it's C.J. Stroud. He's the highest graded quarterback against the blitz according to PFF. So you have a team that blitzes a shit ton versus a quarterback who just absolutely has been dialed in. He's 17 of 20 passing just this year so far against blitzes. To me, it's a recipe for success for the Texans. Obviously, we know all about Houston's weapons in the passing game here. I know Joe Mixon's probably not going to play, and then you're left with Cam Akers and Dameon Pierce for this Texans team. But I'm not overly concerned. I think C.J. Stroud should be able to carry his own in the passing game and put pressure on this Vikings defense. And on the flip side, although Sam Darnold and the Vikings offense has been pretty impressive so far, they do already have some injuries there on the offensive side of the football, right? Jordan Addison probably not going to play. Justin Jefferson got dinged up last week. Obviously, we know that T.J. Hawkinson's already out. Not taking anything away from my guy Sam Darnold. He's been fantastic, but I just think the Texans defense here might be able to overpower this team a little bit. The Texans are both top 10 in passing yards allowed and rushing yards allowed through the first 2 games of the NFL season. They actually are able to get to the quarterback pretty well. Their pass rush is pretty lethal. And from a data standpoint, the Houston Texans are 7-1, an 87.5% hit rate in their last 8 games as a favorite. So really solid marks there. As impressive as the Vikings have been, I just think that C.J. Stroud and this Texans team should overpower them. I'm not taking any points here. We're just going to go straight up on the money line here, -122 on DraftKings. All right, guys, for our third pick in today's slate, we're going to go ahead and target the Browns game, 1 p.m. kickoff on Sunday. We're going with the Giants here, +7. It is a little bit of an alternate line, but we're getting that for -122, again on DraftKings. Also available on ESPN Bet, BetMGM, and Bet365. Now, look, I know everyone's going to the Giants. You're going to put money on this Giants team. They're abysmal, and yes, they are abysmal, but this is a really good spot for 0-2 teams here in Week 3. History tells us that these 0-2 teams have an opportunity to go ahead and bounce back in Week 3, so I do like the Giants here to at least cover the spread of +7. Again, the actual spread is +6.5. We're buying half a point and taking this to -122 just to play it a little safe here. And look, I know Cleveland looked better in their Week 2 win over the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm just not sold on this Browns team as long as Deshaun Watson is the starting quarterback. Again, Deshaun Watson certainly played better in Week 2, but that's against the Jacksonville Jaguars, another 0-2 team that's also been struggling very mightily through the first couple weeks of the season. And look, the New York Giants are absolutely a mess, but they do have the pieces necessary to, I think, hang around in this game. Realistically, if Brian Daboll didn't make the boneheaded decision to not have a backup kicker when he knew that Graham Gano was hurt pre-game and just banking on him staying healthy through the entire game, if the Giants had a kicker, perhaps they win that game last week versus the Commanders. Specifically on the defensive side of the football here, the Giants have pieces between Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau and Dexter Lawrence and all these guys, Azeez Ojulari. The Giants defense has names. They've got guys who can go ahead and pressure the quarterback. Going up against a Browns offensive line here that's banged up. They're missing 2 starters, maybe even 3 starters in this game. This Giants defense should be able to put pressure on Deshaun Watson and cause him to make some mistakes. And then look at the Giants offense. I know it's a tough matchup. The Browns are obviously a really solid defensive team, but through the first couple of weeks, they're not as good as they were a year ago. Yes, they still have the pieces. Yes, but as long as Myles Garrett is there, this pass rush is still very dangerous. But Malik Neighbors flashed something last week, guys, and the Giants do have some between him and Wan'Dale Robinson. They do have a couple of pieces still here in this offense. And again, I'm not picking the Giants to go ahead and win this game here. By no means do I think they're going to win this game, but I do think they should be able to keep this game more relatively close. And a 7-point spread, they should keep this within a touchdown. And the public betting percentage seems to paint that picture. So far, 44% of all tickets are on the Giants. So obviously more people in the public are betting on the Browns. However, 59% of the money is on the Giants spread, meaning that although they have less tickets coming in, there's more money, meaning that the sharps, the guys who have a little bit more money, who are putting thousands of dollars in this game, the guys who are professional sports bettors, they seem to be tailing with the Giants here. Again, normally I would never love to bet on a team like the New York Giants, especially in the recent form that they're in. But I like the spy here. +7, pretty high point spread. I don't think the Browns are good enough to blow anybody out right now. All right, guys, our 4th pick in this Week 3 NFL slate. I'm looking at the Chargers-Steelers game, 1 p.m. kickoff. I'm going with Pittsburgh here, -2.5. Look, you can go ahead and call me crazy all you want. I know the Steelers haven't exactly looked super impressive, but they are 2-0. This defense, we knew it was legit coming into the season, and they've just continued to prove this is a top 5 NFL defense right now. And look, as long as they have this defense, which is as healthy as it is right now with TJ Watt and everybody playing, I'm going to take them seriously to win almost any game they're in. I get it. The offense is putrid, but looking at the Chargers side of things, I don't have a ton of confidence in them. The Chargers are also 2-0, and Jim Harbaugh is off to a pretty decent start in his second stint in the NFL. But I think the Chargers, when you look at who they play in the first 2 weeks, I'm just not impressed with their wins. Yes, wins are wins, and they're fantastic, and they look better than they do a year ago. I'll give the Chargers that credit. Jim Harbaugh, against what the Brandon Staley Chargers were, look a lot better. However, they played the Raiders in Week 1, and they played the Panthers with Bryce Young in Week 2. A pretty soft schedule to start the year, if you ask me. Of the 3 games they played so far, the Steelers are obviously the best of the 3 teams. And again, I know the Steelers offense has not brought a lot of confidence in any sports bettor. But this game's going to be sloppy. It's going to be slow. It's going to be low scoring. I just think Pittsburgh has enough to maybe get that extra oomph against this Chargers team. Again, all we need here is a field goal to win this game. I think that I could very well see the Steelers win this game by 3 points exactly. The Steelers have a top 5 run defense in the NFL, one of the best run defensive teams in the league. How have the Chargers won their first 2 games? By leaning into J.K. Dobbins, by leaning into this ground game here. The Steelers are going to go ahead and take that away and force Justin Herbert to sit in the pocket and throw. And I just don't know if I'm super confident in the Chargers to go ahead and do that. This receiving core is very young. It's very unproven, right? You look at the top receivers. I mean, you look at Quentin Johnston, who was kind of a letdown last year. He had a really good game last week versus the Panthers, but so far in his career has been a letdown. You got rookie Ladd McConkey. You got Josh Palmer. You got a lot of guys who are just not used to this moment, not used to being top weapons in an offense like this. I just don't trust their weapons. I don't trust their receiving core. I think the Steelers will absolutely shut down the run here and force Justin Herbert in uncomfortable situations. And obviously, we know he's got the plantar fasciitis. He's got the foot stuff. He looks decent so far, but this is a Steelers defense that's going to put him on his ass. It's going to make him roll out to run. I just don't know if he's able to do all that right now with the injury in his foot that could put him in a really uncomfortable situation. The moral of the story, I just don't trust this Chargers passing game. The Steelers are going to take away the run. It doesn't take a rocket science to know that where the Chargers' success is coming from is their run game, right? They're going to go ahead. They're going to take that away from them. They're going to force them to throw. And with this inexperienced receiving core, I'll take the Steelers and I'll take Justin Fields in that offense. Although I don't think it's good either, I think it's just a little bit better than what the Chargers are dealing with right now. Again, all we need is a field goal here. We don't need anything crazy. 3 points wins us this game here, and I like the matchup for the Steelers. Again, none of their games have been pretty, but we don't need necessarily pretty to go ahead and cover this bet. Also, one last data point here, guys. This is brought by Outlier. The Los Angeles Chargers are 2-6, 25% hit rate against the spread, and their last 8 games versus top 10 scoring defense. So, again, looking at this Steelers defense, which right now has the second best scoring defense in the NFL through 2 weeks, just not a good spot here for the Chargers. All right, guys, our 5th pick in this week's slate. We're looking at the Dolphins-Seahawks game, 4:05 p.m. kickoff. We're going Miami Dolphins here, +4.5. Go ahead and jump into the outlier screen here for this one, guys. And look, I understand a lot of people are probably looking at me going, what, you're taking the Dolphins in this game with no Tua, with Skylar Thompson in a quarterback? I get it, but there is a lot of data to suggest that these kind of backup quarterback games are dangerous. A lot of the analytical models tell us that when a backup quarterback comes in, the games are very unpredictable, and a lot of times that at the very least cover, if not win straight up. Look at the insights provided by Outlier. The Miami Dolphins are 4-1, an 80% hit rate against the spread in their last 5 games versus bottom 10 scoring defenses. And look, I'm sure Mike McDonald will eventually get this Seahawks defense up to par. And I know a lot of people have been praising him. And look, they've been playing pretty well. They're 2-0, obviously, with a couple of close wins there. But the close wins against pretty bad football teams. And I'm saying that as a Patriots fan, okay? You watch that Thursday night game. That was pitiful, okay? This Patriots team is not that good. Specifically, their offense is not very good. And for the Denver Broncos, you saw what they did against Pittsburgh in week 2. Both of those teams are not very good offensively, and yet they both scored 20 points or more on this Seahawks defense. Actually, not more, exactly 20 points in both those games. And look, overall, 20 points per game is not a terrible average in terms of points allowed for a defense, but when you're talking about who they've given up 20 points to, 20 points to New England and 20 points to Denver, I think that's really not that great. Again, not saying I don't see the potential with Mike McDonald's defense here in Seattle. I do see the vision. I think they will improve as the year goes along. But the fact that those two teams scored 20 points in those matchups makes me question a little bit Seattle's defense. Overall, Seattle, now they've had some nice plays and nice individual moments in these two games, but both these games, Seattle was clearly the better team, and yet both those teams snuck around all the way to the end. They needed overtime to beat New England in week 2. And look, the Dolphins have their own slew of problems. Even when they had Tua, they had their own slew of problems. This offensive line, not very good. Their defense, pretty shoddy. The play calling, Mike McDaniel this year, kind of weird with the play calling. But there's just something unpredictable when you throw a backup quarterback in there. There's not a ton of tape on him. You don't really know what the offense is going to look like with him. And at the end of the day, the Dolphins have so many weapons between Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Mostert and A-Chain and all this stuff. And I know Mostert probably won't play, but they have A-Chain. They have all these weapons. I just think even with Skylar Thompson, Miami should be able to at least keep this game tight and cover the spread. If Bo Nix and Jacoby Brissett can do it, why can't Skylar Thompson? Skylar Thompson at least has Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Jacoby Brissett has Jalen Polk and Hunter Henry, and Bo Nix has Cortland Sutton and Mims, the rookie, the rookie wide receiver Mims. Yeah, and by the way, here you look down below here, guys, the against the spread numbers here. Seattle at this -4.5 point line. Just a 10% hit rate in their last 10 games. Really bad. They've failed to cover that 4.5 point spread. The only game they covered it in was versus Denver, and they didn't actually cover the spread. They're actually 0-1-1 this year. They pushed in week 2 and didn't cover in week 1. So they actually haven't covered the spread since December 18th of last year versus the Eagles when they were +5.5. They've either pushed or lost every week since then. Maybe you could say they're due, but across the board, you see Seattle's not winning games by a lot. Dating back to last year, even when they win relatively closely. And by the way, guys, one more time, the best odds available for that pick were FanDuel at -110. And if you guys are thinking of betting that pick on FanDuel, I have a special offer to go ahead and share with you guys. That's right, Guy Boston Sports and FanDuel Sportsbook have officially partnered to bring you this very special offer. When you use the link down below, first-time customers bet $5, they will get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Let me repeat that because my brain moved a little bit faster than my mouth could. New customers, when you use the link down below and you bet $5, you'll get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. It's free money to go ahead and throw right back in and put on some of these picks. So if you really like that Dolphins pick, in that Seahawks-Dolphins game, you want to ride Miami +4.5, you could go ahead and use those bonus bets and not sweat it at all. It's free money to go ahead and reinvest and make even more money, and it's a fantastic offer from FanDuel, but they don't even stop there. As well as that incredible offer, they're also giving you guys a free 3-week trial for NFL Sunday Ticket, presented by YouTube and YouTube TV. Guys, I have Sunday Ticket. It's fantastic on football Sundays. They have the quad screen where you can put 4 games at once. I love doing that. It's such a fantastic thing. You can watch every single game, especially if you're big into sports betting and you're like me and you want to have action in a ton of different games. Having Sunday Ticket is a really cool thing to have, and you're getting 3 weeks free here with this offer. So one more time, guys, all you got to do is click the link down below, and new customers who bet $5 get instantly $200 in bonus bets guaranteed and 3 weeks of NFL Sunday Ticket presented by YouTube and YouTube TV for free. Very special thank you to FanDuel for partnering with Guy Boston Sports and bringing you guys today's video. All right, guys, getting back to the picks here. I actually skipped over one of the 1 o'clock games, so we're going to go back to that one real quick before we continue with the 4 o'clock slate. Looking up our next pick, we have Packers-Titans, 1 p.m. kickoff. We're going Tennessee here, -2.5. And look, I know some people might be saying, this is the Malik Willis revenge game. Well, actually, I don't know who's saying that. If you are preaching Malik Willis revenge game, you're probably a diehard Packer fan reaching for straws here. I love the Titans here. I've heard rumors that Jordan Love might play in this game, which could affect the lines as we get closer to game time. Even if Jordan Love plays, I still like the Titans in this spot. We don't know what he's going to look like coming off that knee injury. I think he's going to be rushed a little bit too soon if he does play against the Titans. So even if Jordan Love plays, I still like Titans in that spot, and actually might create a little bit more value for us because the line will probably move closer towards the Green Bay in their favor. Look, I know Tennessee is 0-2, but they could very easily be 2-0 if Will Levis doesn't make a couple of boneheaded decisions, which obviously you saw Coach Callahan for the Titans has been very hard on him in the media, and I'm sure behind closed doors as well, as he should. I think that the Titans have been playing better than I thought, honestly, on both sides of the football. If Will Levis can just clean it up a little bit, this team should be and could be 2-0. And so coming off of that now, they're at home hosting this Packers team, which, again, most likely will be started with Malik Willis, potentially Jordan Love. I'm going to proceed as if Malik Willis will get the start, but again, I still would ride with Tennessee even if Jordan Love starts. But especially if Malik Willis plays here, guys, this is, to me, an absolute lock. A Titans team that's been playing very well through the first couple weeks and actually has been top 10 in rushing yards allowed and number 1 in passing yards allowed. This defense has actually been pretty impressive. Now, scoring defense overall, they give them 24 points per game, tied for 22nd in the league. Not very good, but look at their yard standpoint. They're actually pretty solid. Now, the scoring defense doesn't paint the whole picture because, especially that Bears game, the Bears didn't score a single offensive touchdown, yet they did score 24 points. Special teams, defensive plays, stuff like that goes into that. But it's really interesting to me the fact that this Titans team has been so good defensively. Again, number 1 in the NFL in passing yards allowed, just 114 yards per game through 2 games. That's going up against Caleb Williams, the number 1 overall pick, who is a rookie, but it's also going up against Aaron Rodgers, future Hall of Famer Aaron Rodgers, and the New York Jets. So pretty impressive there. And looking at rushing yards allowed, 10th in the NFL, 92.5 rushing yards per game, going up against DeAndre Swift and Breece Hall. So this Titans defense has been pretty impressive, and I think going up against Malik Willis here, they know who Malik Willis is. He's been with the Titans. He was drafted by them. They were willing to go ahead and ditch him for a 7th-round pick. They know all about him. They know what he can do and what he certainly can't do. I think the Titans defense is absolutely inclined to take advantage of that matchup. On the flip side of it, they have a pretty good running tandem there with Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears. Looking at the Titans here offensively for a quick second here, we're going to take a look there. Now, scoring obviously not fantastic, but rushing yards, they're actually top half of the league, averaging 135 rushing yards per game. And looking at Green Bay, bottom half of the league in rushing yards allowed, 142 rushing yards per game allowed as a defense. Even their passing defense has not been great. 26th in the NFL, 232 yards per game allowed for the Packers defense. Overall, Green Bay's defense in most metrics rank in the bottom half of the league through 2 weeks. I think it'll be relatively close. I don't think Tennessee's going to go ahead and blow the doors off them, but to win by a field goal, again, the Titans should probably be 2-0 if they don't make a couple bonehead decisions. I don't think Green Bay has a defense. Now, you're talking about the Jets defense and the Bears defense. I don't think the Packers defense has the skill level and the talent to take advantage of some of the weaknesses of this young Titans team. This is one of my absolute favorite picks of the entire week. I love this pick. We're riding with it. Titans -2.5. All right, guys, jumping back into the 4 o'clock slate here. We're looking at what I think could be the game of the week. Baltimore Ravens at Dallas Cowboys, 4:25 p.m. kickoff on Sunday. I'm going Ravens money line here, -112 on FanDuel, also available on many other sportsbook for varying odds. To put it simply, guys, this is a must-win game for a Baltimore Ravens team that, like we just talked about with Tennessee, could very easily be 2-0. The Ravens, obviously week 1, very tight game with the reigning Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. There's no excuses, though. Week 2 should have absolutely been a win, a 10-point lead going into the fourth quarter, and they blow it versus the Raiders team that I don't personally think is all that good. I think defensively they have some pieces, and even on offense they do have pieces. They have a couple of guys here and there that you really like, but overall, I don't love their team. That loss last week versus the Raiders was as embarrassing as it gets. I lost a lot of money, actually. I had the Ravens in a big teaser, so F you, Baltimore. But I do think they go ahead and make us some money back for those who also maybe had them in your Survivor League or in a teaser. I think Baltimore can maybe go ahead and make it up to us here in week 3. Again, the data shows that these 0-2 teams going into week 3, a lot of them go ahead and show, and even if they don't win, they at the very least cover the spread. Now, we're going money line here, so the spread doesn't really matter. I just think this is a really bad spot for a Cowboys defense that got embarrassed last week against the New Orleans Saints. Specifically, Dallas's run defense leaves a lot to be desired. They are bottom 12 in the NFL, 20th in the league in rushing yards allowed through the first 2 weeks, giving up almost 190 rushing yards per game. 142 rushing yards per game, 190 passing yards per game to opposing teams. But giving up only close to 142 yards on the ground. Look at the Ravens offense. This is a top 10 rushing offense in the league through 2 weeks, 168 rushing yards per game. They're actually fourth in the NFL in passing yards as well, almost 250 passing yards per game. Like I said, the Ravens might be 0-2, and they definitely have their problems. This offensive line looks to be, I talked about this in multiple videos, it is significantly weaker than the offensive line we've had in the past for Baltimore. And defensively, I do think Baltimore has taken a little bit of a step back. But overall, I'd still believe this is a good Ravens team, a playoff caliber Ravens team. And the history for teams that go 0-3 to make the playoffs is very, very, very slim. It's less than 5%. I think it's less than even like 3% of the teams that go 0-3 make the playoffs. So this is really an important spot. And Baltimore's schedule does not get any easier. They have one of the toughest schedules in the NFL. Even after this Cowboys game, it doesn't get any tougher. They got Buffalo coming up. They got Cincinnati coming up. This is a game they absolutely need to win if they want to reach their goals of at least making the playoffs. I think they can go ahead and do it. Derrick Henry was better in week 2. I think he'll be even better here in week 3. They need to get the ground game going. And I think if they do, I don't know if Dallas is going to be able to go ahead and stop them here. So overall, I think this Cowboys team has a lot of questions too. They really just have CeeDee Lamb, and that's it on offense to throw to right now. I have a lot of question marks with this Dallas team, especially after that Saints game last week. I think that week 1 game, I think we were super impressed with it, but A, it feels like typical Cowboys fool's gold, and B, you almost wonder just if that was more about how bad maybe the Browns are than how good the Cowboys are, because, again, the Browns did win in week 2 versus the Jaguars, but I wasn't super impressed with them there. So, very interesting spot here, but I'm going to go ahead with ride with the Ravens here, minus 112 on the money line. All right, guys, our final straight bet from Sunday slate, we're looking at the Tigers. Oh, sorry, guys. Still baseball season here. The Lions-Cardinals game, 4:25 p.m. kickoff. I'm going Detroit here, minus 2.5. We're getting that for bet minus 112 on Bet365. Also available on ESPN Bet for minus 120. Whoops, get out of here. Minus 120. DraftKings minus 123. FanDuel minus 128. And BetMGM minus 130. And honestly, guys, this just feels like a value play. You have to take Detroit here, minus 2.5. I know Arizona, a lot of people have been impressed with them. They are 2-0 thus far against the spread. 2-0 against the spread. They've actually covered the spread in each of their last 4 games, dating back to last season. Kyler Murray looks as good as he ever has been through the first couple weeks. But I think the value is just far too high on Detroit to pass up because they lost last week against... was trying to blank there. Because they lost last week versus Tampa Bay, I think the public has kind of faded off of them a little bit, right? They only scored 16 points and lost that game. But overall, Detroit was moving the ball pretty well. They just had a hard time finishing drives and making scoring plays. But overall, the Lions were moving the ball fairly easily on that Buccaneers defense. And the data kind of reiterates that. Through 2 weeks, the Lions have the second most passing yards per game in the NFL at 262, and are top 10 in rushing yards per game as well, 151 rushing yards per game. Again, in the scoring department, they've struggled a little bit here. 16th in the NFL through 2 weeks, 21 points per game. The scoring hasn't gone as well, but they're moving the ball. They're getting the yards. The offense is moving in these games. They just seem to have a hard time finishing drives here. But going up against an Arizona team that, yes, they're off to an impressive start, but again, they played Buffalo and they played the Rams. And although both those teams on paper are really solid, both those games have issues. Specifically, the Rams team, no Cooper Kupp got injured in that game. No Puka Nacua. Is that really the Rams? Was that game more about the Cardinals being great, or more maybe about the Rams being banged up and just not being good enough? They're very top-heavy. The Rams are a very top-heavy team. So when you lose all that top-heavy talent, they're really not that great. They're not a deep team at all. Again, I'm not trying to discredit the Cardinals. They've been very impressive, and I love to see Kyler Murray bounce back here. I just love the Lions in this spot. And the insights provided by Outlier, the Lions are 12-5, a 70.6% hit rate against the spread in their last 17 games as a favorite. Really solid data there, and you're getting them for a field goal here against a Cardinals team that, yes, although improved, I still have questions on this Cardinals team. No really head-to-head data here, so I'm really just riding with the value here. If I'm getting the Lions, who I believe are going to win the Super Bowl this year, or at the very least make the Super Bowl, I think they're the best team in the NFC. Obviously the Niners have something to say. There are other teams that have something to say. But, if I really do believe, and I do in my heart believe, the Lions are maybe the best team in the NFL this year, they have a chance to go all the way. 3 points against this Cardinals team, you got to go ahead and ride with that. So I'm rocking with the Lions here, minus 2.5. All right, guys, we're almost done here. I have 3 straight picks left, all coming from Monday Night Football. And then I also have some teasers to go ahead and share with you guys as well. No Sunday Night Football picks in this video because I do my Sunday Night Football NFL bets videos in an individual separate video that I release on Sunday morning. So, guys, if you're looking for my Sunday Night Football picks for that Falcons-Chiefs games, make sure to tune in Sunday morning for that separate video to go ahead and drop. And so for my next pick, again, we're targeting the Monday Night Football matchups here. We're looking at the Jaguars-Bills game, 7:30 p.m. kickoff on Monday, one of 2 Monday Night Football games. We're going with the Jaguars here, plus 5.5 on the spread. And again, I know I've talked my shit on the Jaguars, and they deserve it. Again, this is another one of those 0-2 teams that a couple things go their way, a couple less boneheaded decisions, and they're 2-0. They should have beaten Miami, and realistically, they should have beaten Cleveland as well. I think that's why this Jaguars team is so frustrating to me. It's because they have it. They have it there. It's right there. Again, they have the talent. They have the pieces. They're in the positions to win these games. They just can't capitalize, whether it be turnovers, whether it be the offensive line breaking down, whether it be drop balls, whether it be an inability for some of these receivers to get open and keep spots. But this Jaguars team should be a lot better than this. And this is a Buffalo Bills team that, week 1, they almost blew it against Arizona. And although they crushed the Dolphins in week 2, that's what they kind of do. It's what Buffalo does. They crush the Dolphins. They have a really good history against Miami over the last several seasons. I'm just not buying it. Jacksonville has won 3 of the last 4 meetings with the Buffalo Bills dating back to 2018. More specifically, though, they've won each of the 2 times they faced off with the Jaguars in the Trevor Lawrence era. Sorry, let me try that again in proper English this time. The Jaguars have won both games against the Buffalo Bills in the Trevor Lawrence era, including last season when they play. Look at the head-to-head numbers there. The Jaguars beat the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo 25-20 last season. And the insights provided by Outlier, the Buffalo Bills overall are 4-9, just a 30.8% hit rate against the spread in their last 13 games as a favorite. Again, don't let that win versus Miami confuse you. This Bills team still has a lot of question marks. It was a really impressive win. Kudos to the Bills. But I have a lot of questions about them here. And again, they've struggled in recent history versus the Jaguars. The data says that teams like this, these 0-2 teams like Jacksonville, there's value on them in week 3. So we're going to go ahead and ride with the Jaguars here at plus 5.5. Again, you're getting it from minus 110 BetMGM. Also available ESPN, DraftKings, Bet365, and FanDuel for varying odds. I'm just not sure if Buffalo is equipped to go ahead and take advantage of the weaknesses Jacksonville has, right? You have the offensive line issues. I just don't know if the Bills' pass rush or their defense will be able to create enough pressure. They're not really that great of a rushing team. You look at the quarterback hurries. Now, not bad. I mean, quarterback hits. Sorry, let's go ahead and switch it. That's why. I look at the defense here. Quarterback hurries, bottom 10 in the NFL in quarterback hurries, bottom half of the league in quarterback hits. They're pretty decently high in sacks, but overall, they're not really rushing the quarterback very well through the first couple weeks. And on the flip side, the Bills' passing game has been interesting to say the least. Their strength, it seems to be in the rushing department so far. Buffalo's offense 18th in rushing, but just 23rd in passing. It's 180.5 passing yards for in the first 2 games. And that's where the Jaguars' biggest weakness is. That pass defense is pretty brutal, bottom 3 in the NFL, but their run defense, top half of the league. The Bills have been really run heavy the first couple weeks. A lot of that I think has to do with the fact that we don't really trust the receivers here. Keon Coleman, the rookie, Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir. I think they don't really trust their passers yet, so they're trying to lean into Josh Allen and James Cook in the running game. I don't know if you're going to be able to do that versus the Jaguars defense, so that'll be a really interesting dynamic in the game here. But overall, I like the Jaguars on the point spread here at 5.5. And piggybacking off of that, guys, I'm going to also ride with the Jaguars. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit. I'm going to put a half a unit here on the Jaguars money line, which is available plus 200 on ESPN Bet, plus 200 BetMGM, plus 200 Bet365, plus 198 FanDuel, plus 196 Teasers, and plus 190 on DraftKings. I just feel like if I'm going to take the Jaguars plus 5.5 here, I do want to sprinkle a little something here on the money line. Jacksonville is one of those teams that's really confusing. They can hit you out of nowhere, it feels like. And again, although they're 0-2 record, although the number's not great, they could very well easily be 2-0 if a couple more plays go. If Travis Etienne doesn't fumble in that Miami game, they probably win that game, right? A couple boneheaded decisions in the Browns game as well. There's really a lot of opportunity for Jacksonville to win these games. I think there's going to be plenty of opportunity to go ahead and win in this one. I think Doug Peterson's obviously coaching for his job at this point. I mean, if they keep losing, they go 0-3. Trevor Lawrence. I mean, a lot of people, they're on the hot seat there in Jacksonville, specifically Doug Peterson, though. Everyone's playing for their jobs. Everyone's coaching for their jobs here in this game. Jaguars need a win, and what better place to do it on the national stage like Monday Night Football on the road against the Bills team that just clobbered the Miami Dolphins. What better way to tell people that, hey, we're still around, we're still in this, than to go ahead and beat the Bills on the road. And again, they've won each of the last 2 matchups in the Trevor Lawrence era. All right, guys, in our final straight up pick in this week's slate, again, we'll have a couple teasers real quick before we close out the video. But our final straight up pick here, we're looking at the Commanders-Bengals game, 8:15 p.m. kickoff on Monday night, the second of 2 Monday Night Football games. We're going Bengals here, -6.5. Now, this is an alternate line. We're buying a little bit of value here. DraftKings, -127 seems to be the best place for this number. Again, at 6.5, I think is the key here. I would not bet at 7. 7's fine. 7.5, though, absolutely would not take it. If you can get the 6.5 point, even if you have to buy a little bit of value there, I would go ahead and do that. This Commanders defense is putrid, and I think this is a really good spot for Joe Burrow in the Bengals offense to get things going here. Again, the Bengals, I keep saying over and over, they're one of these teams that's 0-2, but easily could be 2-0. It's not like they're getting blown. This isn't Carolina, right? Carolina's 0-2, and they deserve to be 0-2. They've been really terrible the first couple weeks. These teams like Cincinnati, though, they're 0-2. But again, they very simply could be 2-0. They played really well, versus Kansas City in week 2. Lost by 1 point. Again, probably should have won that game. Some really poor decision making in the fourth quarter cost them there. And then obviously that really embarrassing week 1 loss to New England. But even that loss was only a 1-possession game. This is just kind of what the Bengals do. They get off to a slow start. It's happened pretty much every year of Joe Burrow's career. It's like clockwork. Death, taxes, and the Bengals starting slow. But this is a really good get-right spot at home. A little extra rest for the Bengals against a Commanders team that, they did obviously win against the Giants last week, but I'm sorry, I don't buy the Commanders team. They obviously got blown up by the Bucs in week 1. I like Jaden Daniels. I think the rebuild's off to a decent start, but this is a rebuilding football team in Washington that is a little ways away from being a good team. This defense is putrid. Bottom 4 in the NFL scoring defense. Bottom half of the league in rushing yards allowed. Bottom 10 in passing yards allowed. Teams are throwing all over this defense here. I just don't buy it. And you got a Bengals defense going up against a rookie quarterback here. I think they should be able to go ahead and take advantage of that matchup. The Commanders have actually been running the football very well. They're actually top 6 in the NFL rushing yards per game, but a lot of that is coming from the quarterback position, not so much the running backs. The Commanders' offense has actually been pretty impressive, but again, a lot of that rides on Jaden Daniels and him using his legs. I think the Bengals defense will be ready for that. But what I'm banking on here is that the Commanders will not be able to outscore the Bengals. I think Cincinnati's offense is a get-right game against a really porous Commanders secondary, a really porous Commanders defense. I expect Joe Burrow and the Bengals offense to go ahead and roll here. So love the Bengals here at -6.5 points. All right, guys, I promised you some teasers. Our first of 3 teasers. We're going to run through these pretty quickly because a lot of these games I've already discussed. I'm not going to go into great detail. We're already running a little long here. My first of 3 teasers, you understand why I didn't do player props, is what I'm calling my bounce back 0-2 teaser here. We have the Giants, which are the original line +6.5, and the Carolina Panthers at +6. We're going to go ahead and tease them here, a 6-point tease, which is -120 on DraftKings. If you guys don't know what a teaser is, basically you're buying points. You're getting 6 points to to the spread to make it a little bit better to bet. So, for example, we have a 6-point tease here. So the New York Giants spread goes from +6.5 to +12.5, and the Panthers spread goes from +6 to +12. Now, obviously, I gave the Giants +7 as a straight-up pick. I was very close to taking the Panthers at +6 straight up as well, but with Carolina, I know they have Andy Dalton. I feel a lot better about Andy Dalton there. I don't know about betting them straight up. This Panthers team is still pretty bad, even with Andy Dalton. But at the tease number, I like it a lot. The Giants, I already like them at the +7 mark. Now you give me New York at +12.5. I love that spot. The Browns are not currently equipped to blow anybody out, even this Giants team. The Giants should be able to keep this within 2 touchdowns. And Carolina, the same thing. I know the Raiders, they just beat the Ravens. It's a classic tale of everyone's going to be like, oh my God, the Raiders, they just beat Baltimore at Baltimore. Hey, the Raiders are going to have a lot of hype coming into this game, going against the Panthers team that's gotten blown out in the first 2 games. But Andy Dalton, the Red Rifle, should keep this game relatively close. I'm not saying the Panthers are going to win, but they should keep this game pretty close. Again, I almost want to go ahead and add them to my card here, my bet card, the Panthers +6, but I won't. But I'm going to play it safe here. +12, though, Carolina's not getting blown up by this Raiders team. This Raiders team is not capable of blowing anybody out. For -120 odds, really solid value here on this teaser. All right, guys, our second of 3 teasers here. Now, we didn't really target a lot of totals in those games. Actually, we had no totals. I just realized that. I love the spreads and the money lines in this week, so no totals. Apologies for that. We'll make up for that right here, though. We have a little teaser here with 2 unders here. We have the Giants-Browns under, which at the original line is 38, and the Chargers-Steelers under at the original line, 34.5. I like the unders of both those games. However, both being under 40, they worry me a little bit. They should still hit straight up, but we're playing it safe, adding 6 points here. So now we're getting the under in that Browns-Giants game at under 44, and in that Chargers-Steelers game, under 40.5. Much better spot here again, minus 120 odds. And our third and final teaser here, guys, we're going with what I'm calling the Monday Night Special. We're just basically taking my 2 Monday Night Football spread picks and teasing them because I do like them straight up as they are. If we go ahead and tease them, they get even better. The Bengals are -7. We're going to go ahead and tease that in a 6-point we're going to the teaser screen. 6-point teaser. I'll take the Bengals from -7 to -1. So basically all they have to do is just win the game straight up. And then Jaguars, who are +5 straight up, we're going to go ahead and get them at +11 here with the teaser. Again, that one is still a little risky here, but I think the Jaguars win the game outright. But we're taking it +11 just to play a little safe. I don't think they're going to get blown out here in Buffalo. They've been keeping all these games close. All right, guys, so that is it for me today. I know the video is going to be as long. Most of these videos are probably going to be a little longer. We have a lot of picks. I'll probably go ahead and put some chapters in each and every thing so you guys can go ahead and easily follow along. I know it's going to be a 40-minute plus video. I'll probably put some chapters in there to make it a little easier to go ahead and follow along. Special thank you to FanDuel Sportsbook and Outlier for partnering with us for today's video. If you liked all the information you saw in the Outlier screens today, guys, we do have a special link down below in the description that gives you guys a 7-day free trial to check Outlier out for yourself. Great sports betting tool. I use them in all my videos. They're a really fantastic thing to use to make you a better sports bettor. Guys, I will be back next week with another episode of the NFL Oracle and another slate of NFL picks. Until then, guys, I hope you're all winners. Thank you for joining me, and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit that like button and drop a comment down below. One more time, comment the Oracle for a chance to win a free $15 Amazon gift card. Until next time, guys, I hope you're all winners. Have a fantastic week three of the NFL season.